ABC just indefinitely pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show off the air, essentially at the request of Donald Trump, over comments he made about Charlie Kirk. We are witnessing one of the most brazen attacks on free speech in modern American history. Shortly before ABC made their announcement, Nexstar Media, one of the largest US TV station owners, said it will also pull ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live after his remarks, putting out this statement calling his comments offensive and insensitive. Nexstar is one of the largest affiliates of ABC, so it was a significant announcement. And as I said, this was essentially a request from Donald Trump, because earlier today, Trump's FCC chair, Brendan Carr, appeared on Benny Johnson's show and threatened to revoke ABC and Disney's broadcast licenses if they didn't take action against Kimmel. ABC bent the knee to Donald Trump again. And just minutes after Nexstar made their announcement, Brendan Carr put out a statement thanking them for doing the right thing. Listen, if Jimmy Kimmel made a factual error in what he was saying, then he should correct it, no problem. But taking him off the air indefinitely for making comments that the Trump admin doesn't like, that's insane. Comedians should be allowed to joke about politicians, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. Joe Biden never tried to take any of these guys off the air because they said something about him. This is an attack on the First Amendment, and Republicans should be concerned because it applies to all of us.
So let me just get this straight. A news anchor calling for the lethal injection of homeless people just for existing, being homeless, totally fine, just an apology, free speech, right? But Jimmy Kimmel pointing out the theatrics involved with the whole Charlie Kirk debacle is hate speech, and he gets fired and canceled over it. The truth is, they do not believe in free speech. They believe in saying what they want without consequences while suppressing the voice of others.
So I'm already getting blown up. Why aren't you arguing that Jimmy Kimmel had the same freedom of speech rights as Charlie Kirk? And he does, as Charlie did. But unfortunately with Jimmy Kimmel, he is kind of owned by Disney and Nexstar, so they also have the same right to decide what their content is and what they want to push out. So while I argue for freedom of speech for everyone, that has to include those who own your platform. Jimmy Kimmel's show was not Jimmy Kimmel's show. Let me know in the comments.
I don't care what your thoughts are on Charlie Kirk. I really don't. This is censorship. This is state-controlled media. And every single person in America and around the world, honestly, should be terrified.
Jimmy Kimmel's show has just been pulled by ABC indefinitely over comments he made about Charlie Kirk. The announcement from ABC came today after a decision from Nexstar Media to basically cancel the Jimmy Kimmel show and not run any of their episodes, starting with tonight's episode. They said that any of their owned and partnered television stations that are affiliated with ABC Television Network is going to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show. They went on to say that they strongly object to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC affiliated markets. Andrew Alford, who's the president of Nexstar, said Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse, and we do not believe they reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of the local communities in which we are located. Continuing to give Mr. Kimmel a broadcast platform in the communities we serve is simply not in the public interest at the current time. And we have made the difficult decision to preempt his show in an effort to let cooler heads prevail as we move forward towards the resumption of respectful, constructive dialogue. This comes just 2 days after Jimmy Kimmel mentioned the Charlie Kirk shooting in his monologue. On Monday, September 15th, he directly addressed the Make America Great Again supporters, which is, of course, MAGA, saying, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang trying to characterize this kid who killed Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them." Jimmy Kimmel is no stranger to political drama. He's been in a feud with President Trump forever, but this is now the second late night talk show to be canceled. Of course, we had the Stephen Colbert show canceled first, and Trump said Jimmy Kimmel was next, and it looks like that's just become a reality.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. This is Hosting Stories KE and I believe you are doing super great whenever you are watching this episode from. Now, Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely had been cancelled This is after Donald Trump on his pages posted and said that Jimmy Kimmel said something on the show that was termed as offensive during this tough time for the Charlie Kirk's family. Here's what is happening. Jimmy Kimmel on his show, he commented something about Charlie Kirk's shooting and MAGA supporters, MAGA and the Republicans. This did not sit well with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump made a post on his pages requesting the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's show, or threatened ABC that he will suspend their broadcasting license if they don't do anything about this Jimmy Kimmel's show. Now, ABC has suspended the show, terming and saying that they will replace the show with other programs in future. This is after Donald Trump had literally threatened them, terming as Jimmy Kimmel did not have talent. He said that on his pages. Now, this has sparkled a lot of outrage for the people of the United States. They are saying, wait a minute, we thought that there is freedom of speech in the United States. Why are these such things happening? Or is it that Jimmy Kimmel is working with under Disney? That is why he got suspended? Is it something called cancel culture? Because tell me why there is freedom of speech in United States. Charlie Kirk himself was advocating for freedom of speech. The things he was saying really proved that there was freedom of speech without contradiction in the United States. But now Jimmy Kimmel has made a comment on Charlie Kirk's shooting that is not considered as freedom of speech. This has sparkled a lot of reaction, and this video, I want us to watch the people's reaction on this Jimmy Kimmel's show getting suspended, and then I'll be giving my commentaries at the end. In the meantime, remember to subscribe while you keep on watching.
So are we boycotting ABC? Because I am. They just fired Jimmy Kimmel. His show has been suspended indefinitely. Trump took to Truth Social, his little social media platform, and told ABC congratulations. And he also told them that they should also fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, I believe. But he was fired over his monologue in regards to Charlie Kirk. Monologue, he stated, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points." He also referred to Trump's grievance over Charlie Kirk's death as of a 4-year-old mourning the death of a goldfish, which I totally agree. ABC also avoids talking about Palestinians and Gaza, so it's really not surprising to me that they would fire Jimmy Kimmel over free speech on his own show because he's doing a monologue. And mind you, what he said really wasn't all that bad. I don't know about y'all, but hashtag boycott ABC, boycott Hulu, boycott Disney. Anything ABC needs to be boycotted. Anything associated with ABC needs to be boycotted.
At this point, it is your patriotic duty as an American to say Charlie Kirk is resting in piss and rotting in hell. Not because you believe it, but because freedom of speech is our most fundamental right. And it's sure as hell worth fighting for. Sure than the hell Charlie Kirk is in. I believe people should be able to burn the U.S. flag. Not because they hate America, but because they love it too much not to fucking burn it. I pledge allegiance to the fact that Charlie Kirk is way more annoying now than when he was alive. To be American is to have the right to say that Charlie devoted his life to owning the libs, and now all he owns is a plot. Or to say, Turning Point USA, more like Hollow Point USA, am I right? Or to agree that Charlie Kirk is a bit like Martin Luther King. One fought Jim Crow, the other fed some crows. Or to say, people keep getting fired for making fun of Charlie Kirk, because even in death, he's still trying to force women to stay home. To be American is to have the right to say Charlie's memorial is being held at State Farm Stadium because, like a good neighbor, Tyler was there.
I'm going to need everybody to be so fucking for real right now and wake the fuck up. This is blatant censorship. What the actual fuck is going on? This is pure insanity. For those of you who don't know, Jimmy Kimmel on Monday night during his opening monologue made comments on Charlie Kirk's killer by saying, and I quote, "The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving." End quote. And because of that, the FCC, or the Federal Communication Commission, a government agency, threatened to pull ABC's license from them if they did not punish Jimmy Kimmel for his words. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr was quoted during a podcast for right-wing conservatives. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there is going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. ABC has a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with the obligation to operate in the public interest." This is a blatant threat by a U.S. government agency towards an entertainment company to silence someone for exercising their First Amendment rights. And heaven forbid, their words are not aligned with the MAGA mob. He talks about the public interest. What public interest are we talking about? Are we just talking about the right-wing conservatism? Or are we talking about right and left-wing ideals, because this is a democracy and we have multiple viewpoints? Or are we turning into a dictatorship now where we can only have one viewpoint, and that is to bow down to the Orange Goblin King? Let it be known that Jimmy Kimmel did nothing wrong, and this should be illegal, what the FCC is doing. Censorship does not belong in America. We have our First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, something Charlie Kirk exercised religiously. He literally was the embodiment of freedom of speech. And now you're wanting to silence someone for doing that exact same shit. This administration, Trump's goonies, are trying to silence everyone that is against them. Terry Moran, after interviewing Trump and not painting a pretty picture of him, let go from ABC. Stephen Colbert Show being canceled, a host that is blatantly always talking against Trump. Jimmy Kimmel, who speaks out against the MAGA mob, now silenced. Wake up and smell the dictatorship. I fucking hate it here.
People really seem to be struggling with the idea that the First Amendment is implicated here, and it's not just about some private company firing a person who said something they didn't like. This is genuinely an attack on the First Amendment in an unprecedented way. I'm Eliza Orland's career public defender for 15 years in Manhattan. Today, we are witnessing something unprecedented in American media: the direct use of government regulatory power to silence a television host for political commentary. On Monday night, Jimmy Kimmel made relatively tame comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. By this afternoon, so 48 hours later, the chairman of the FCC was on podcasts basically threatening ABC's licenses. And then by tonight, Jimmy Kimmel was indefinitely pulled off the air. Let me show you exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said that triggered this response.
With the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving.
That's it. Those were the comments that prompted the FCC chairman to go on podcasts and say that he was going to revoke ABC's broadcast licenses. He specifically called on ABC affiliates to not air Jimmy Kimmel's show, and it worked. Immediately, they capitulated. Within hours, Nexstar Media Group, which owns dozens of ABC affiliates and is in the process of trying to get through a $6.2 billion merger, announced they would no longer carry Kimmel's show. And apparently Disney associates were pissing themselves all day, and then by tonight decided they would also capitulate and that Jimmy Kimmel would be suspended indefinitely. People are failing to grasp that this implicates the First Amendment because the FCC chairman stepped in and threatened to pull the broadcast licenses of the American Broadcasting Corporation, i.e. ABC, if they did not cancel Jimmy Kimmel. the administration is using their authority to crack down on speech they don't like. This is a direct violation of the First Amendment. This is textbook censorship. And I am disturbed at how quickly they were able to do this. And I hope that everyone will boycott ABC. And I hope everyone out there who's called themselves a free speech absolutist, a First Amendment rights absolutist, a libertarian who says they care about free speech and debate, this isn't about whether or not you like Jimmy Kimmel. This isn't about whether you agree with what he has to say. This is about government censorship. And the fact that it can happen this quickly to someone like Jimmy Kimmel means it could literally happen to anyone. And we should all be speaking out and pushing back because this is fucking terrifying.
ABC just suspended Jimmy Kimmel for speaking on Charlie Kirk and Dookie Booty. Watch this.
He had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old...
As y'all can see, Jimmy Kimmel didn't say nothing wrong. He made a joke about Dookie Booty not giving a fuck, which everybody can see that. But now St. Clair Broadcasting, one of ABC's biggest affiliates, is demanding that Jimmy Kimmel apologize to the Kirk family and also donate to the Kirk family and to Turning Point for consideration for them to air his show again. And they're also going to replace his time slot with the tribute to Charlie Kirk. What the fuck is going on? Do y'all not see that they are trying to take away our free speech? Is this North Korea? Like, did we go to sleep and wake up in North Korea? This is exactly what the fuck everybody said would happen. But no, nobody want to listen. Nobody want to listen. Looks like it's time to start boycotting all these media outlets because y'all got us fucked up. Y'all think y'all gonna keep firing everybody and bending the knee to Dookie Booty and we gonna keep giving y'all ratings? No. It's time. No more Disney Plus, because that's the parent company. So no more Disney Plus. No more ABC, MSNBC, CBS, all y'all motherfuckers. Every single last one of y'all are done. We need a boycott. Only get our media from online. We got plenty of people with boots on the ground to spread the word on what the fuck is going on. We don't need to depend on these fucking media outlets because all they do is fucking lie anyways. So let's boycott their ass and shut shit down.
You see, these are just a few of the very many comments that we are seeing online that people are condemning the things that have been done for Jimmy Kimmel's show. Now, let's talk about it because, you know, this something called freedom of speech is now becoming underrated in the United States of America right now. Freedom of speech is becoming a crime right now in the United States. Why am I saying this? Because of freedom of speech, we've seen very many people getting fired literally from their jobs, from their hard-earning jobs, because of just commenting on Charlie Kirk's death. We've seen thousands arrested because of commenting negatively or celebrating on about Charlie Kirk's death. This is because of the freedom of speech. Charlie Kirk himself, while he was still alive, he was advocating for freedom of speech. But now, freedom of speech has turned to be a crime in the United States because Jimmy Kimmel was just expressing his freedom of speech and the thoughts that he was thinking about Charlie Kirk's death. And the fact that he said Donald Trump was mourning like a 4-year-old kid, it is true. Why am I saying this? Because we've seen Donald Trump, he was asked on how he was feeling about about Charlie Kirk's death. But what he said, he went ahead and said amazing. In fact, you've seen those tracks there. We are in the construction of a ballroom that we wanted to construct very many years ago. So irrelevant, not even associated to Charlie Kirk's death. And then when Charlie Kirk's vigil was held, we saw Donald Trump did not attend the vigil. He went ahead and played golf. He did not attend Charlie Kirk's vigil. In fact, or in short, he skipped the vigil to go and play golf. So when Jimmy Kimmel says that Donald Trump is mourning Charlie Kirk like a 4-year-old kid, not as a friend, it is actually true because we are seeing. But because he said that, and there is no freedom of speech, especially on social media, because this regime, this government has been targeting critics for a very long time. It is now targeting critics, and now they say the critic of the day was Jimmy Kimmel. Because he said this bitter truth, he deserved to be suspended. That is cancel culture. That is consensusship. That is definitely cancel culture because he commented something negative about Donald Trump. He deserved to be suspended and the show to be cancelled. And these are just some of the few things that we are seeing happening during this time of Charlie Kirk's death. That man is now becoming even more of a headache when he is dead than when he was alive. And this is not supposed to be happening. Now the people are questioning, where's the freedom of speech? Should we boycott this ABC News? You do tell me what you think, guys, about all this in the comment section. Let's have a discussion because this is now getting out of hand. Subscribe.